Welcome back to the Nozzleheads. Today we're going to be discussing why do we actually spray a fungicide. And so we're going to look at the two things that we typically factor in what those things are. And number one is it's going to be whether we have disease present or not, right? Disease control is a very important piece of any fungicides. They're kind of table stakes. But the other piece is what other parts of this fungicide do we see that help improve the plant health and that give us the benefits of maximizing yield and standability and those type of things that we're looking for.
And that's really where you're going to hear from BASF about our performance-driven fungicides, right? We're going to talk a lot about disease in this episode and that facet of it, but really the things that we offer here at BASF are more than that. It's about improving your consistency in the response you see because of our unique active ingredients, as well as, providing return on investment in bushels at the end of the day, because really that's where the tail of the tape comes down to. So as I mentioned, not to get astray on those other topics, we really want to focus this episode on disease. And so before we dive into that, we should remember how a disease develops, right? So it really comes down to that disease triangle. If you remember that back from school, it really takes three things to make a plant disease work, right? So it's a triangle, one for each side. Those three things are crop, right? You have to have a susceptible host. Second will be the pathogen. And then the third will be the environment, the conducive environment. And really you have to have all three sides of that triangle for a long enough period of time in order for that to develop. In our area, in the Midwest, we really start with two of those three every year. We plant the susceptible host, whether that's corn or soybeans, and then we typically have a lot of diseases that are endemic, so they come right from our soil. So as long as those environmental conditions show up, that triangle starts to form really quickly.
Right, and so how does a fungicide fit into that? So we've got those three things that we're looking at and say, okay, why is it important? Well, number one, we mentioned disease control, and so it's really important that. But we break fungicides down into maybe a little bit different categories, and that's preventative and curative. And so preventative means that we're working on the front end of disease control. We're doing a lot of times before the disease shows up or in the very early stages. Curative means that we're coming in the latter stages. But there's a little bit of misnomer with the word curative out there, and that is that somehow when you're seeing disease out in the field, that this curative product is going to come back and turn that leaf spot green and everything else like that. And the thing to remember is once you have a disease that is visible in the field, there is no fungicide that can come back and fix those lesions there. But the preventative does give you the benefit of coming around to the next cycle, because we talk about having multiple cycles here. And so when it's coming back for reinfection, that preventative is providing a shield to keep that product from the disease from reinfecting that plant and causing further damage.
And again, it's about being proactive too, right? I mean, we talk about preventatives being very effective, and whether you're using a curative or a preventative, it's about getting there early. We talk a little bit about latent periods in some of our other videos, which is that time from infection to when we can see it. Sometimes those can be long. So again, being out in front of this thing and utilizing that preventative piece, I think is really important. The other thing I think is really important with our BASF fungicides, Brady, is our broad spectrum control. We've got products that are specialists. I think it's something like Endura for white mold as an example. That's a great product for that one disease, but my goodness, in corn and soybeans, we fight multiple diseases on years where we get the diseases to come in. So I want something that's good on all those. So our multiple modes of action that we've got that we provide in Veltima or Revitec provide a broad spectrum to give us the best protection on whichever disease may develop through the year. Sometimes we don't know that going into the season, but that provides us the blanket of protection that we need to give all those checks covered as far as preventing that disease from coming in.
I think that's the crucial part here is that we're looking at products like Veltima and Revitec that give us multiple sites of action active on the same disease. You can mash two products together, combine them in a jug, whatever, but really at the end of the day, if they're not both working on the same disease, you're not getting the benefit from having multiple modes in that jug. And so when you have the right ones in there, like again when we mentioned with Veltima and Revitec, you're able to see the benefits from that and get excellent disease control with that. With that, thank you again. Keep watching for our other videos involving fungicide applications.